Hey, welcome back to another episode of Open Shutter. Andrew back on with us. He was on with us about a year ago, so I figured I'd invite him back on to see what's new and exciting in his life and his photography journey. And yeah, big thanks to Andrew for taking the time to doing this. And if this is your first time watching this program, I try to do this program every week and try to invite someone on to talk about their creative journey. So if you make something, could be photo, video, painting, whatever the thing is. If you want to come on and talk about it, I'd love to have you on and chat. So follow Open Shutter YouTube for all the show announcement stuff. And yeah, don't want to take up too much of Andrew's time. So thanks again, Andrew, for coming on once again. And yeah, maybe for the people that don't know who you are, maybe a quick intro about yourself.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you for having me back, Paul. How you been? How's it going?
Good man, time. But we just saying offline, like time flies, right?
It's been a minute, and by minute, it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year. And, I don't know. I
It's
just
been a year.
yeah, I know. We had a really good chat last time about your photography and like the phone versus the camera and like the gear
Yeah,
stuff. So we can definitely touch upon that. But I mean, are you still using the phone in terms of like doing your photo stuff or?
yeah, I am. So it's a mix of both. So I'll just do a quick intro for everybody
Yeah,
that's tuning in. My name is Andrew Lee here. Thank you
yeah.
all. Hey, Muswell Market. We can mention names, right?
Roy,
Can we
that's
mention
Roy.
names?
Yeah, that's Roy.
Okay. Hey,
Roy,
Roy, how's it going? Cool. So, yep, Andrew. I am a marketer by day and musician by night. And on
yeah,
top of that, I am also a photographer. And,
you are.
as Paul mentioned, I do have both my phone as well as a camera. So I own a Canon EOS Rebel T7. I've recently just got it, so I'm kind of getting the hang of it. Testing it out, seeing what it's like in nature. I love taking pictures in landscape. I love to go hiking. I'm in the GTA region, so love trying to see how we can get out more and
Yeah,
kind of a shameless plug there with Get Out and Shoot, right? I
yeah.
know that's
Okay.
yeah, I know that's something that Paul spearheads. But
Yeah,
essentially, yeah, I just love, creating those stories and creating those memories, and maybe we get into a little bit more as well during our chats. But
sure.
would also love to see in terms of, what people are up to, right? Happy Friday, Junior. It's
Yeah,
Thursday right now that we're tuning in.
no,
Yeah,
right? It's exciting. It's
that's
good
right. Yeah,
weather. It's good
yeah.
weather. People are in good moods. The
Oh,
sun's out. It's
beautiful.
nice, right?
It's gorgeous out there. It's like a heat wave, actually. Like at
Oh,
least in the
no one
Mississauga
can,
GTA.
no one complain about the
No,
heat.
no, I love it. I love the heat.
Yeah.
I'm like a sun worshiper. I'm trying to get better at it with like sunscreen and the whole sunglasses and hat type of thing. I've never really done that before, but now I'm starting to learn more how to do that and how to be better. So
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I guess what
uh,
made you want to move over to like, I guess Canon body? Was there like a specific reason or?
yeah, good question. I mean, for the longest time, I know that I wanted to get my hands on a camera.
Yeah,
Um, a professional DSLR, and I've just never really looked into it before, right? I've never really taken a look at like the budgeting and what I've got, like all that spend, and then until recently, I actually got an Amazon gift card, and so I put that to good use. Checked out different cameras, and this one stood out in terms of like the standard, in terms of like a basic type of camera to just get started, right?
yeah.
And
Let's
to
get
get your
started.
feet wet. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to start somewhere,
yeah,
right? It was affordable. It was within the budget. I think it was less than 400 around there.
yeah.
And then I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I've always wanted to take pictures with a professional DSLR, and I've
Yeah,
got it right here as well for those that
yeah.
are
All right.
tuning in.
There you go.
That
Thanks, Canon, for
yeah,
the sponsor of this show.
yeah,
Appreciate
yeah, no problem. So got that, and then right now I'm balancing between using my phone and using the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think I think, yeah, I mean, you're saying that it was like under 400 bucks, and it just goes to show you don't even spend a lot of money to get like
absolutely.
a camera body and lens. So people
Yeah.
out there that think they have to spend thousands of dollars. First of all,
Hmm.
like my advice is like, especially when you're starting out, like don't spend a couple of thousand, like just get something you may find that you may not like photography after a while. So I mean it's a good way to kind of get your feet wet, as you said, and just kind of like just start and see if you like it or not, right? Because
Yeah.
people change, right? So
Mhm. Yeah, you never know till you try it, right? And honestly,
yeah,
in terms of like the lens and things like that, that's something that would come afterwards too. So it's one of those things where, okay, do you want like an enhancement? you want to explore further and see what lens you would go for, right? And maybe even you have some suggestions too for if you have like a camera and you do want to get like pristine different images, what lenses would you even recommend as well, right? For
Yeah,
those,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it depends on what you want to shoot too. Like you want to shoot landscape, right? So you want to have like a
Hmm.
wider lens. You wouldn't want to have a prime, right? You would want to have like a wider lens. If you're shooting a landscape,
Yeah,
you know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So it depends on what you want to do with it.
Mhm.
You know, if you're shooting portraits, then yeah, definitely get prime lenses because they're just better, right? But yeah, it really. I mean, again, if you're not sure on what you like to shoot, just use the kit lens. You know, whatever it is, like a whatever, like a 16-35 or 55, whatever it is, 70 or whatever it is. So I just use the kit lens and just see the 24-55. Just use the kit lens because that's a good way. That's how everyone starts, just with the kit. That's why they call it the kit lens.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Kit lens. And typically how
Yeah,
much would they be, right? Like,
kit
do you
lens.
know in a range? Yeah.
Cheap. They're not expensive. Kit lens.
Hmm.
They're not expensive. Maybe a couple $100, maybe.
Okay, that's good to know.
50 millimeter, yeah. Well, that's what 75 to 300. Yeah. But yeah, it depends on what you want to do with it. That's why,
Yeah,
you have to tailor your gear to what you want to do. That
100%.
comes
And I
down
feel
to
like,
like just experience.
yeah, yeah, and then it's also more so in terms of like your intention and what stories you want to develop, right? Like to your
Yeah,
point, even mentioning if it's more so landscape, if it is more portrait, is it maybe like a
yeah,
333 rule, right? The different
yeah,
type of composition that you want to have. So I think a lot of it is crafting those stories and telling your story, right? It's not just
yeah.
any story, it's not
No.
just a story, but it's how you frame it, and it's
Hmm.
how you narrate through those pictures
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
develop, right?
yeah,
Like I
exactly.
think, yeah, like I think with photography, it's almost like sure there are rules, but there's also no rules to the arts aspect of it.
No.
Maybe it's both a combination of art and science, right? Or
Yeah,
maybe it's, some would say it's mainly art. Maybe it's
yeah,
mainly the artist kind of speaking through the pictures, speaking through the
sure.
images.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's really no limits. I mean, that's the great thing about like, photography and the arts is that it's really up to you.
it's boundless.
Like it's yeah, and I think sometimes there's a pressure to like fit into a box, especially when it comes to social media, to fit
Hmm.
inside a box because you want to get the likes or the followers, whatever the thing is. But
Yeah.
when you do that, when you try to conform, then you're kind of like losing a bit of what you want to do, right? Because
Mhm.
usually, like I always say this, but you gotta do it for yourself first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a slippery slope because once you put it out there on the internet, then you have no
Mhm.
control over, right? So as long as you have like a little piece of it for you, at least you can control that because for you. You don't have to. It's not for anybody else, right? But it's easier said than done, right? Because with
Yeah.
social media, with the game of social media,
Hmm.
you're just trying to get that validation, right? Every time, but it's hard,
Hmm.
right?
That hit of dopamine, right? That like, that following. So it's funny, a couple of things that you
Yeah,
mentioned in terms of, conforming and social media and just
yeah,
influences these days, because it is becoming more and more prominent, right? We see
yeah.
it happening all across us. So what would you say in terms of like some tips or advice, to not blend in, to really ensuring that, the camera is something that tells it, right? It's not the
Yeah.
camera that makes the picture. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Roy's right with that. I mean, for me, it's just more of when I started out, like you just need to like for me, I just had like a goal of I wanted to shoot whatever it was 3 days a week, right? Whatever
Hmm.
that, however I did it. Sometimes I
Yeah.
would, sometimes I would bring the camera to work at lunch break. I would just use the 30 minutes at lunch and just shoot because I was downtown Toronto, right? So there's lots of things to look at. So I would just call it like the 30-minute challenge, right? It didn't
Oh, I
matter how
love that.
good the photo was. I just went out for
Hmm.
30 minutes and just shot. And then I
Hmm.
came back and some stuff was good, some stuff whatever, but it just kind of gets you in the rhythm of doing it because
Yeah.
I always think it's always easier not to do it. Like it's always
Right.
easy not to
Like
do it. So
that with
you have to
anything.
choose.
Hmm.
You need a way to do it, right? Because the more you do it,
Yeah.
the more you have it, and the habit,
Hmm.
practice, better experience, all
Yeah.
that stuff. But it
Yeah.
comes down to actually picking up the camera, and it's hard sometimes. So that's what I did. I just had a goal, whatever the goal was, I met it and just kept going, kept going, kept going, meeting people, kept going, right? So,
Hmm.
and then through that, right? Through that, when you're doing it that way, you're just thinking about your own personal like development. You're not thinking about like
Hmm.
external validation. So
Right.
so when you kind of like develop your own internal process and you meet people that kind of like support you or meet
Hmm.
like-minded people that have positive intentions,
Hmm.
then you just kind of like get better at it in terms of just being able to take better photos, which translates into like better stories, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
through that, you start to like your work a little bit more, right?
Mm.
And that just develops the confidence just to keep going, right?
Yeah. Thanks for
Does that make
sharing that,
sense? Does
Paul.
that make sense? I have no idea.
It makes perfect sense. It makes
Hard to
perfect
explain.
sense.
It's hard to explain. It's just like to me, it's like just keep going. Like it's so
Yeah.
simple, yet it's so hard. Like it's so
Yeah.
hard. Like it's like, yeah, keep going, but what does that mean? Like, oh, I gotta,
Right.
it's November, whatever. There's a snowstorm. I gotta go shoot today somehow, right? Whatever
Right.
that
Right.
thing is,
Right.
you need your own system. You need your
Absolutely.
own system to kind of
Yeah.
like hack hack the game in terms of just keeping going, kind of
Mhm.
like keeping the external validation at bay, just so you
Mhm.
kind of get better at it. Because it never goes
Yeah.
away, like, the external validation, all that
Yeah.
stuff, never goes like, it's always gonna
It'll
be there.
always be there.
It's
Yeah.
never gonna and the better that you get, the bigger that you get, it's just gonna
Right.
get worse because 'cause you're
Mhm.
just gonna have to feed off it, right?
Yeah. You got more
As
eyes
long
on
as you
you.
have Yeah, as long as you have, like, your
Yeah.
own internal system,
Mhm.
you're in a better s place.
I
Yeah,
absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing that. So I love
yeah.
the 30-minute challenge that you
30-minute
mentioned.
challenge, man.
30
It's trust me,
minutes,
it's
3
fun,
times a
it's
week.
fun.
Yeah, and do you find
What
you
I
exceed that as well? Do you find
what
there are
I did
days where
was
you're like, "Let me just keep going."
well, that's what I mean, right? But
Yeah,
like for me, I made it fun. Like for
yeah,
me, I put out my Instagram story. Okay, 12 o'clock
absolutely.
lunchtime, 30-minute
Yeah,
challenge. Took the photos, came back, put some up
mhm.
on IG stories. No editing, just the
Oh, so
raw
no
photo.
filters, no editing.
Just
Yep,
here's what I did, and some stuff was
yeah,
kind of cool, right? But it forces you to
absolutely.
look. It forces you to
Yes,
shoot in like a
yes.
fun way, not in like a oh I have to do this kind of way, right?
Yeah, yeah, not like a chore, but more like a passion, more like
Yeah, but just more
you're
of like a game. It's a game
it's
for
like a
you.
game.
It's a game.
Yeah, and
I
see
took
how
it
much
as a
you
game.
achieve.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
It's a game, right? So
yeah.
that's what I
It is
suggest.
rewarding.
Yeah, just like have little challenges for you, right?
Yeah. And then do you find from there then it becomes natural for you, becomes innate? Do
Yeah,
you still
of
set those
course.
goals for you
Yeah,
now? Do you
because you
increase
just
your
walk around.
goals?
Yeah, because you just walk around and start seeing photos in your head, right? You walk down the street, oh,
Yeah.
here's a photo here, there's a photo there, because you've trained yourself,
It
right?
trains your eye,
You've
doesn't
trained
it?
your eye to look.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for people that aren't into photography, they have no idea. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, there's a photo right there. It's because they haven't trained their eye.
Right. Right.
The
Right.
more that you
Right.
practice the habit, you just train yourself, and then you just start
Yeah.
seeing stuff in your head. And then
Yeah.
if you have a camera on your phone or whatever, you just take the photo.
Yeah, because people say, it's oh, you have a photography eye, right?
Yeah,
People say that, right? Like you have an
of
eye for
course.
photography. Um, and
But
sometimes with those things, you got to practice it. You have to nurture it, right?
yeah,
And of course, everyone knows like practice makes perfect, and the more practical, the
yeah,
more hands-on you are. It's
yeah,
like that with anything in life, right?
yeah,
It could be like that for work. It could be like that for your community. It could be like that for
yeah,
volunteering.
yeah.
And I love just the comments that are coming in here that say
Right,
you're
yeah,
listening
instincts
to
really
your
shows.
innate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like, I don't know, like, what does Roy do? Shoe on spec. Avoid snapping for your time skills of yeah. Um, yeah, like I'm weird. Like I don't care what anybody thinks. Like I just don't care. Like
Mhm.
for me it's like okay, well if you can do better, like show it. Like don't whatever you're whatever you're mocking. Just for me it's like show don't tell. Like if you can do better, just show it.
Show, don't
Then tell
tell.
me how you did that so I can learn.
Mhm.
Right? But
That's
people are
right.
just keyboard warriors sometimes and they just want to drag you down because they got nothing else better to do. But like for me, it's like I don't care. I just want to go do it.
Yeah.
I don't
You
care. It doesn't
mentioned
matter
a
to
lot
me.
of good points on that. Yeah,
And it's
right?
so
I mean,
easy not to do it. Like the people that are
right.
like, bringing people down on social media, they probably haven't picked up a camera in their life.
Right, and they're not the people that matter, right? Like, I always follow this mindset where the people who mind won't really matter, and the people that
That's what
matter won't mind.
yeah,
They
that's what I
won't
mean.
judge you, right?
It's a weird. it's like high school all over again.
Right. It's like a high school
Like
mentality,
who
right? In the
actually cares about
cafeteria.
it is. That's kind of what social media is a little
Yeah.
bit. It's a high school
Yeah.
cafeteria. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's on. Yeah, again, like it's easier said than done. Like it's everyone,
Oh,
including
yes.
myself, wants external validation, but it
Mhm.
comes down to just having a system for yourself to follow,
Mhm.
and then you just see what happens, right? But again, like doing the meetup groups, meeting like-minded people, they can teach you and support you, and because we're all in this together, right? Like I always tell
We're all
everyone,
learning.
everyone starts at zero. Like everyone starts
Mhm.
at nothing. Like
Ground zero. Yep.
no one's born with like photography knowledge or skill. Like you have to like work.
Right.
Or
Right.
people are just further along in the journey or whatever the thing is. But I mean, yeah, it's a weird thing, man. I don't know. It's a weird because again, like we said, there's no rules. Like it's the wild wild west. We were just saying offline about
Mhm.
AI now.
That's
Crazy,
right.
right?
Yep. How it's becoming more real, how it's becoming
You're not even gonna know
something
what's real
where you won't know
photo
a difference.
in probably
Yeah,
a year. Not
that's
even.
right.
Like, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah, right. Like Hollywood is huge on it. I think they've been
Yeah.
testing a lot of this for the past few years, and it's
Mhm.
only recently now that there's a big push on it. So things are now becoming,
Yeah,
more public, things are becoming approved,
that's
and
crazy.
you see it a lot in corporate nowadays as well. Everything's all
Yeah,
about automation and streamlining. And I think we'll reach a time and day where we may not even know a difference. Like you put them side by side,
yeah,
maybe it's supposed to look
yeah.
like a person, but you don't even know that it's actually AI. Like you don't know it's a robot,
No,
right?
no,
That's actually
I
behind
know.
the
It's
scenes.
crazy.
And
It's
it's
crazy.
not like to bash it. Yeah, I think there are some good aspects of it too. Like don't get me wrong, right? Like maybe it'll be helpful for healthcare. Maybe it can be supportive for I don't
Yeah,
know,
of
like a new breakthrough or
course.
something like that in medicine.
Yeah,
But there's always that fine line in between where it's like, well, are we crossing that?
yeah.
Is it gonna
I
become
We're
above
gonna be
of who we are,
I am
right?
much and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly like that,
yeah.
Will Smith and all of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, it's just I don't know. I guess we were just saying offline about like if AI is gonna take over like our jobs and photography and all that. Like, cause like like oh I can just get AI to do the photo. Why do I need to hire
mhm.
anyone? So
Yeah,
um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it takes us. But I mean, an interesting time though for sure, right?
it really is. It really is. I think the next 5 years we're gonna see a lot of change and a lot
Yeah,
of transformation.
yeah,
In photography, in videography, in filmmaking, right? Um, and in terms of what technology can do, it can be scary. It could
yeah,
be concerning. It could be right. Look at everything that's happening as well with Elon Musk, and he has a big push in terms of AI and making sure that it does its job.
yeah,
Um, so it'll be interesting to see. It'll be
yeah,
really unique and interesting. But I always say this way as well. It's like, you can never take the human aspect away from the emotion, the empathy, the connection. Like especially post pandemic, right? Now that, everybody is out in public,
yeah,
we're all hanging out, we're all in a community together. You want that face to face type of it is. It's super interesting, right? You want that face-to-face type of interaction, and I don't think you can get that with AI. Like it might replicate it, it might mimic it, but like the way that you and I are connecting right now, like this
yeah.
you can't copy. You know what I mean? Like it's
No, you
such an
can't.
interesting
You
time right
can't.
now. No, no.
Um, yeah, you're saying about like emotion, right? Like, yeah, like,
Yeah,
and that's kind of like what like photography is. Like Katie here, she was on
absolutely.
last week. Katie was
Hey.
on last week, and her thing is like the human condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
She tries to
Yeah,
get that, right? So trying to get like people like you know, moments in
yeah.
time, right, with people.
I love
So
that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And
and
it's
that's
spontaneous,
yeah, like it's
you know?
spontaneous.
Yeah. It's
It's
not
like
forced.
no, because you have
Yeah.
to be able to grab the moment. Like you can't.
Right.
It just happens.
Yeah,
Like it
and
just
that's what
happens.
photography is. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you need to be able. Like we were just saying about training your eye. You have to train your eye to be able to like see it and also like anticipate it a
I
little bit.
know.
You
I
kind
get
of have
what
to
you
play
mean. It's like a
just so you can
spidey
get the moment.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, We were talking about teleporting just offline, and we're saying,
Mhm.
if we could teleport, that'll be an amazing superpower. In a sense, with photography, it's like
Yeah.
you gotta have like a spidey sense. You gotta have kind of like what's coming next, and to quickly capture it, right? Of course, it depends on your shutter speed, aperture,
Yeah.
ISO, and all of that, and it all blends together to create the picture to develop that. But it's
Yeah.
like it's an intuition almost in a sense, right? And
What I
and
mean.
and you train that and you practice it. So I think
Yeah.
that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
okay, you're just saying, yeah, you can't replicate a real true remote. You can't. It's impossible. So
Mhm.
um yeah, we'll see where it goes, man. But I don't know. I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube about like the Photoshop beta and everything, what it can do,
Yeah.
and it's
Mhm.
crazy. It's
It's
crazy.
only half of it too, The other half they don't
I
reveal.
know they don't even show you.
They don't show you yet,
It's
that
they don't even
yeah,
show you. I know, I
yeah.
know.
This
So
is like just scratching the surface
it's
really in terms
just a
of
little
AI.
taste, right?
It's a little taste, right?
Just a little
Once they
taste.
have things figured out, they
They're
start
coming
rolling it
after.
out
They're coming after
slowly.
you though.
Yeah, they launch it out, one step at a time, right? Because I think that they're not gonna just launch it all completely, implement it out completely, like have it in
Yeah.
everyone's face. I think it's gonna be subtle. I think it's gonna be more
Yeah.
okay, progressive, right?
Yeah. They don't want
You
people
see,
losing they don't want people freaking out off too much.
no, they don't want people losing their minds and complaining and then not voting for ABC. I know
Yeah.
that's going into more political type of stuff, but
Sure.
but like I'm in marketing, right? So
Yeah.
we see a little bit of that, or we see in terms of how social media functions and develops and continues to evolve, right? Like it's not just boom, everything
Yeah.
all out there. And I mean, it's also strategic. It's also business. They have
Yeah.
to do that in phases, right? So phase
Yeah.
one, phase two, phase three. We see it everywhere,
Of course.
So
Yes.
so I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen with AI, but super, super interesting. I'd be curious to know how AI and photography and maybe even a little bit of, you know, like albums, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe like even physical or digital albums, how all of that can integrate together. Like I
Yeah.
think there's still a demographic that loves the printing out, that loves the having the hands-on
Yeah.
albums, right? And I love that myself. Like I love that. And then there's
Records
also
are back. Records are back.
yeah, records are
Yeah.
back, you know? Records are back and I think they're here to stay, right? They're making a comeback.
Of
And then
course.
there's that demographic where like they want everything digital. They want everything online,
Yeah.
virtual, save it
Yeah.
in a folder, save it on the cloud,
The cloud.
give it all up to the cloud, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's really interesting to see how that's going to blend and how that would amalgamate together in a
Mhm.
seamless way or as seamless as possible as it could
Right.
be. We know
Right.
there will be, there's always different challenges and different roadblocks and maybe things along the way, right?
Yeah.
But that'd be super, super
Yeah,
interesting.
man. I don't know. It's crazy, right? But so what are you hoping to do with your photography in the summertime? Like, do you have any goals or things that you want to do, things that you want to shoot in the summer?
Yeah, I would love to go to places like Algonquin Park. I
Okay.
would love to go to Tobermory. I would love to go to
Yeah.
Flower Pot Island. I was
Okay.
actually just in Niagara Falls 2 weekends ago.
Yep.
So I took my camera with me, grabbed some shots, right? So
Yeah.
I actually have over like 300 pictures that I have to sort through,
Okay.
and that I'm trying to put on a folder. Like I
Okay.
want to build up my portfolio,
Okay.
whether it's to, show it off, even if it's for work, if it's not for work,
Yeah.
even if it's for fun, for leisure, even for
Of course.
myself, like just to look back on memories
Yeah. Yeah.
and to like, see myself, hey, I did this, or hey, I was there,
Oh, it's
in
huge.
January, in February. I think it's huge, right? So
I
to
think
answer your
so.
question, yeah, like summertime, I want to get out more. I want to spend time in nature. We know summer
Mm.
is so short, especially here in Canada. So we
Yeah.
really got to take advantage of it, take advantage of the
100%.
amazing weather before we
Yeah.
know that it's going to be cold again and the tree, they're going to become bald, right? They're going to,
Don't
the
blame
leaves
me.
are going to fall off.
It's June 1, buddy. It's June 1. Let's let's enjoy it.
We gotta enjoy it, yeah. But I love the winter times with the snow and the ice. I love that type of photography too. So it's good to have a balance. It's good to have a variety.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
definitely want to take my camera with me to go on hiking trips. Canada Day long weekend is coming up right in
Yeah.
July.
What are
So
you doing for it?
what
Do you hear?
yeah,
Are
well,
you
I'm trying to plan something for it. I want to see if I can go out of town for that. I want to extend my long weekend actually. So
nice?
Maybe I'll have like 5 to 6 days, and I want to
Beautiful.
go to new places. Like I've been
Yeah.
to Burlington, I've been to Oakville, I've
Mhm.
been to Bronte, I've been to Niagara, I've been to Thorold, Welland. Like
Okay.
there's some amazing hidden gems.
Why don't you
When
go
you,
east? Like
I might
Kingston,
go east. I might go yeah, I might go there. We were
Ottawa.
actually thinking of going to Kingston. Yeah, I had a plan to go for that trip. But like for us during that time it was just a little bit too far, like with our groups of friends.
Yeah.
Because it is about like 4 to 5 hours around
Yeah.
there, right? With
It's
traffic.
like 2.5 to Kingston, yeah. 3.
Yeah, yeah, so around there, right? But that is also on my bucket list. I was there years ago before the pandemic. I
Yeah.
went to Thousand Island.
Nah, it's
Yeah,
a good spot.
Montreal and Quebec City is also really beautiful.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would love to go to Montreal. Like I love
You
everything
gotta
to do
go,
with
man.
light. I gotta go. You've been?
Oh,
Have you been
see?
before?
Yeah, yeah, I've been to Montreal. Beautiful.
All right. Maybe I'll ask you for some recommendations or something, you know. I love like their street photography, their lights.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Montreal's great, man. It's a good vibe over there for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, even if you can find, like, cheap flights to, like, I don't know, the
Mhm.
Maritimes or even west,
Oh, I would love
as
that.
you maybe get some cheap flights sometimes, you never know, but,
Yeah. Gotta
we're
use
just
that
gonna
app.
Expo 67 sites, yeah.
Oh, what are those? Expo 67
Expo
sites.
67, I think Montreal.
Are they in
Is that right?
Montreal?
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be interesting. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
Google that and check that out.
Google it, yes. Um, but yeah, again, like, even just traveling, taking photos, you just build those memories, right?
And it's
And
crucial, you know, it's critical. I wanted to mention something, you know, that
yeah,
you kind of touched upon, right, for our
yeah,
listeners and maybe for those that are tuning in later on. But in
yeah,
terms of like that external validation, in terms of that liberation aspect,
yeah,
right, and kind of paving your own way, like being a trailblazer.
yeah,
You know, you see that a lot, right? In terms of like, you know, in today's world, in today's era, in such a
yeah,
loud and noisy world that has
yeah,
so many things happening in the background, photography is that space
yeah,
where you can go with yourself, whether it's solo or you go with your friends, with your community, and you build
yeah,
that sense of belonging as well,
mhm,
right? So it's also helped me with my mental health. Like it's
okay,
helped me with in terms of you know, dealing with different stressors in life, right? Like working in a corporate marketing environment, there's always so many different things that you got to juggle. There's so many
yeah,
different tasks and pressure
yeah,
and projects to complete with such tight deadlines. So the
yeah,
way that I unplug and the way that I really take myself out of those scenarios is, you know, I take a step back, I breathe, I look around, and to that point, training photography, I
mhm,
start, you know, seeing it's so beautiful out there. The world around us is so gorgeous. It's so breathtaking, right? So how
yeah,
can I take those pictures? How can I make those still images and ingrain them as part of my memory and ingrain
mhm,
them as part of something that I've seen and I've experienced, you
yeah,
know? And then later on, 5 years, 10 years down the road, we look back and we're like, we've been through that, you know? And I think we have so many things to be grateful for, especially coming through from the pandemic, coming through from a
yeah,
time of turbulence, you know, and tribulation.
mhm,
Um, but so many things to be thankful for, right? And it speaks through our photography. It speaks through
yeah,
like our emotions. How are we
yeah,
feeling? Or
yeah,
were we in you know in the valleys at that
yeah,
time? Are we out of those types of
yeah,
emotions, right? And
yeah,
we're still learning. Like nobody's perfect.
yeah,
We all have flaws, and
yeah,
we all have areas of enhancements. Um, but photography is just that one way of like practicing our sense of grounding ourselves, if that
mm.
makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
it makes perfect
Grounding who
sense.
we, yeah, yeah,
I think
appreciating.
yeah, appreciation. I also think that, whenever you're able to, like, um, use your camera, I mean,
Yeah.
in its most basic form, it's almost like therapy, right? Because you're able to
Mhm.
kinda like use, like, whatever you're going through, you kinda use that to kind of
Yeah,
channel, like, whatever you're going through, like, your photos or whatever
that's
the
huge.
outlet is, right? So, in a
Yeah.
way, it's therapy, and it's a way just to kinda, like, process what's going on too, right?
So important, and we all need that. We all need that from time
Yeah,
to
like,
time.
you need an outlet. Like, everyone
We do.
everyone
Yeah.
needs an outlet. It doesn't have to be photography, it could be anything,
Yeah.
but everyone needs
Exactly.
something.
Music.
It can
Yeah,
be
you know,
anything. It
swimming,
can be
right?
knitting.
Volleyball.
It doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
it can be anything. But
why not?
everyone has something, right? Everyone
Yeah.
has an outlet. So through that outlet, that's how you kind of like I don't know, process what's going on or like try to like,
Mhm,
handle what's going on or whatever the case is. Like
mhm.
it's a way just to get through, right? So,
Yeah, and if you don't, it's never too late to start it. Like there's no
no,
perfect type of
no,
framework that's like, oh, it has to be the certain way. I think
yeah,
it'll always be unique for everybody. And we always talk about this. You got to start from somewhere. You start from ground zero and then you build up on it,
you
right?
yeah, you just start.
Yeah.
Like there's no I don't know, people always ask me like, "Oh, what camera should I get?" Just use the one on you. "Oh, I just have my phone." Just use the phone then. Like don't make it so complicated for
Yeah, yeah.
Just start as easy as possible and just see where it goes. I think
It does a
people like
great
to
job.
yeah, I think people like to make things more than what they seem. It's like, no, just start with whatever you have,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I started with like a little Canon PowerShot thing that like it was like a small little camera.
Yeah, and
That's
how
what
long
I
ago was that?
that was like, I don't know, that was probably like 2012.
Oh, see?
This little Canon PowerShot thing. But
Yeah.
I took a few cool photos. I kind of liked it, and then people were like, "Oh, that's a cool photo." I'm like, "Okay?" Question mark.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, you just keep going, right? But I mean,
Mhm.
but it wasn't like it was probably like 100 and probably $120 camera, right?
Oh, you see?
But
Wow.
but you start so simple. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like I had no idea what I was doing. You just doing it, and then you just keep going. But I mean,
Sometimes less is more. Sometimes
I think
simplicity
so.
is
I think so.
best.
I think honestly, less is more at all times.
Mm.
Even if you make it big time, wherever the case is. I think people always have this sense of like things are always like the grass is always greener. Like if you make it big,
Oh,
you
yeah.
make it your career. If you make it this
Yeah.
big thing,
Right.
like I don't think people understand like it's the grass isn't always greener sometimes, and sometimes that
No,
comes with
it's
like a
not.
lot of other stresses,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
if
we
you're
never know what's happening, right? Behind
well,
the scenes.
people just see like the hero stuff on social media, but you don't really understand
Mhm. The
everything
struggle, the
else that
challenge.
comes around, right? Everyone wants to be famous, but you don't want
Right.
the hassles along with being famous.
Yeah. Well, I don't wanna be famous. I'll
Yeah,
put it
you just
out
want to
there.
be famous.
I do not wanna be famous.
Yeah, you just want to be famous. Well, after this show, you might be famous.
Will I? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I gotta hide my Instagram, I think.
yeah, it's all private. It's all private.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
that's
I don't know.
good.
I think less is more is a good mantra because I think
Yeah.
again it comes down to gear. Have less gear. It makes you shoot better because you
Mhm.
think less and you just shoot
Right.
instead of thinking about what lens you need to use.
Right.
And that kind of mentality of just like just keep it simple and just start doing it because once you start doing it, then you're gonna realize what you need, what you don't need, what do you have to improve on. But until if you just keep thinking about whatever you have to think, whatever you have to do, then you haven't gained the experience of doing it.
Mhm.
You just do it with whatever you have. Like don't complicate stuff.
Yeah, these are great insights.
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't know. This is what I do. Just do it. I don't know, just
I
do
can
it.
tell.
Yeah, just do it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just see what happens, right? Like until you actually do it, you don't really understand what's involved. You know what I mean? Like you don't really
Yeah.
understand what's actually involved.
Mhm. Most
So just
definitely. Yeah.
get the experience, right? Of instead of just
Yeah.
figuring out what you need, it's kind of irrelevant and just start doing it, I think. But that's my opinion, right?
Mhm.
Because otherwise you may
Yeah.
not even do it. Because oh, I don't have that gear, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't do it. The
Yeah.
light's off today, whatever.
Right.
Well, there's always gonna be something.
Right,
There's
right.
always
And
gonna
it
be
becomes
something.
delayed, right? And you
There's always
procrastinate on it and
there's
you don't end
always
up doing it.
there's always gonna be like it's never gonna. That's what I mean. There's never gonna be perfect. You just have to say, okay,
Yeah.
this is like Tuesday 2 o'clock. Doesn't matter. We're doing it.
Right. Right, right, right.
You know what
I
I
love
mean?
that. Like it's
It's,
not to wait for perfect conditions, but to make something out of it,
yeah.
right? And it might turn out perfect. It might turn out the way
Well,
that you
for you,
wanted. It
yeah.
might
Well, for
not.
you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
for
for
you. You know
you,
what I mean?
right? Like it may not, be perfect for someone else, but maybe it's
Well,
just how
yeah. For me,
you
it
want
doesn't
it or
matter.
even
It
better.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. It doesn't matter about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
As long as you like it, you know what I mean? Like it's like again, it goes back to like the internal system of like, well, I like it, cool. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, let's ask our listeners. Does that
Yeah, I
make
know.
sense
Roy, you still
to you
there?
guys?
Somebody says exactly. Oh my god, it's
Yeah,
funny.
I love that.
It's global mental floss.
Oh,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's flossing our
Um,
teeth, flossing our lives.
something like that.
But
Something like
yeah.
it's 8:05. Did you have to bounce? I know they said you had to leave around this time, but
I do, yeah, I do
yeah.
have to make my way soon. But thank you
Okay.
again for having me on the podcast. It's always great to talk to you, Paul, and it's
Yeah,
always
man.
amazing to connect with our community here. I
100%,
hope that I
man.
can come back. Maybe next time I get to interview you more. Maybe we do like a Q&A.
Yeah,
Maybe we do like
interview
a
me.
fireside
You start
chat.
your own podcast. You start your own podcast. So come on.
You know what? I might just do that. Next week, same time. No, no, I'm just joking.
There's nothing to it. Just, honestly, that's what I mean. Like you don't have to ask permission. You just start doing it. That's what I mean. Like you just start.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
gonna
we're gonna
invite you.
have
You're
you
gonna be
on.
my
And we're gonna
first
talk about
guest.
whatever we're gonna talk about.
That's right. You're gonna be my first guest, my first special guest.
That's fine.
So
I'll do it. I'm not shy.
cool.
Too
I
humble,
know
creative.
you're not.
Yes, Roy. Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew has to bounce, so big thanks to Andrew for coming on once again. And yeah, go check him out. Discover Andrew on IG, and I don't know, tell him I sent you.
Thanks so much,
Thanks, Katie.
everybody.
Roy.
Thanks, guys. Take
And
care.
we'll
Okay.
see you next time.
Have a great upcoming
Absolutely.
weekend. Thanks. Bye
Peace.
now.